Hi everybody, this is Steve Henson. Welcome to Marketing 360. You will have, if you're viewing this video, you will have recently received an email explaining why I'm not there and maybe giving you a little bit more insight. I'm actually recording this on the Tuesday before classes start, and hopefully we'll never have to use it, but if I do, you'll know why from the email. So this is my introduction to class. This is Marketing 360, Foundations of Internet Marketing. It's a very interesting course to me because it's a course I've been teaching in one form or another under a lot of different course numbers for about, since 1995, well before most of you were born. And Scott Rader and I got together about 3 years ago and started talking about, we started actually dreaming and said, wow, wouldn't it be really cool if we could have a 5-course internet marketing concentration or even an undergraduate major. Problem is, who the heck would teach it? It's just a field that requires a lot of time and upkeep and expertise in. And we just don't have the marketing faculty, not just at Western, but anywhere right now to offer this course. Last time I checked, which was last semester, there is still no undergraduate program, undergraduate degree in internet marketing, as hot as the field is and as interesting as it is. So anyway, we decided if we were just going to be limited to a couple of courses, especially given what Scott and I had already done, he was going to have a course, and it's his social media marketing, and there's some other words in the title, but it's a 400 level marketing course, and it's a very difficult project course that dives deep into relatively few subjects, and it's very hands-on, it's very applications oriented. But we also thought that we needed an additional course that was much broader and much less in-depth in any single area. And so we created Foundations of Internet Marketing. And sorry, I'm going to have to back up here. I got interrupted and had to start over with this video. So it's nothing like doing things twice to remind you to get a little bit organized before you start working. So what you'll see here is, what's that, 20 probably, different topics, and all stated with a very different objective in talking about simple case settings. In other words, this isn't something I'll be asking you, as I do in some of my classes, to take one company or one concept and work with it through an entire semester. We're going to be introducing and familiarizing you with a lot of topics, looking at kind of some of the latest writings and the latest activities in real field marketing, and then we'll be giving you simple case settings to give you some practice in those. It'll be rare. One of the fun things about the class is it's rare that that I won't have at least one and probably multiple students in any of these particular areas that know more than I do, which is always cool. Gives me a chance to learn things too. So we'll start with integrated internet marketing. We'll finish it somewhere around intellectual property and copyright. And when we get around here to these last 6 or 7 objectives, some of those will become optional. We just have more material you can cover in any single semester. We'll try to cover as much of the interesting stuff as we can. There is no, scooted right by it, there is no textbook. There are a lot of readings that'll all be provided on Blackboard. You do have to come to this class. If you don't, beginning with your 4th absence, you'll start getting a deduction. Almost, I'll take it back, all of the D's and F's I've given for many, many years have had a attendance penalty associated with them. First, if you don't come to my classes, since the material's not anywhere else, then you're not going to be able to do very well on my assignments. And second, if you're not there, you're not participating. You're not learning. You're not working with your group. So show up. Last semester, I had 2 classes that I had no attendance penalties in at all. That was the first time I'd ever had 2 in one semester. So I'm hoping that that's a sign of things to come. All of your work has to be turned in on time. Well, it doesn't have to be turned in on time. I'll point out that just as you'll find in your work world, while late work can sometimes be acceptable, it's never worth as much as on-time work. So you start losing points when you're late with submissions. Now, I'm not a jerk about that. If you have a midnight deadline and you turn something in at 12:04 a.m., I'm certainly not going to be screaming at you or deducting you, but general rule is get it done, turn it in on time. Have a lot of boilerplate material talking about integrity and the way we're expected to treat each other. I used to kind of think this was, and it is usually not something that requires a whole lot of attention or a whole lot of time, but I recently had a student I had to remove completely from a class, and you can imagine their grade suffered significantly because of that. Tutoring Center, Blackboard support. If we're talking about grades, you'll have some a typical week, for example, email marketing. You'll have some readings. You'll have a little multiple choice test, and you will have to finish the readings and the test before my lecture. I want you to be familiar with the basics of content of the lecture before I start. It really gives me the ability to move into more complex discussion if you have the basics out of the way. There's a dozen of these tests. You get to drop one. So if you forget to take one, it won't make any difference. After that, though, each one you miss will cost you a little bit more than a point in your final grade. So again, just as absences have almost always been impacted or have always led to bad final grades, so do tests. Often those people that make C's and D's and F's forget a handful of their tests, and again, forgetting one doesn't penalize you at all. You forget 6, and you're going to lose 5 or 6 points on your grade. Most every week we will have a group assignment where you will be doing those simple cases I talked about back in the objectives. So I'll be giving you assignment. The assignment context will vary. You'll be working together as a group, sometimes doing a single project, often doing 2 assignments. As we get a little further into the semester, many of your Fridays will become what I call field days, in that we will not have required meetings in the classroom. You will have an assignment, for example, a video or a screencast that needs to be done in some other way. The midterm and the final will be half your grade. Midterm especially is important. In my classes, final grades and midterms have very high correlations. Rarely do students make more than a half grade better or worse than they did on the midterm. So stay caught up at the start of class, have a good midterm, and you're off to a real good start. You should be fairly confident in the class. And finally, 10% of your grade will be participation. I will evaluate you, but I'll also rely very highly on your evaluations of each other. I don't see everything that happens in groups. I see much of what happens in groups, and I almost never disagree with groups who give me feedback about other members of the group. And when I do, it'll only be in those situations where group members think someone is doing a better job than I've observed. Okay? So in other words, I go with the group evaluation unless I think you were better than the group did. And to prevent the confusion that always arises from having one schedule in the syllabus and another one on Blackboard, I've decided to have one schedule, and that one schedule will always be on Blackboard, and I linked it to my syllabus as you saw there. And you'll see each of the modules, each of the dates, each of your due dates will be on Blackboard. And as all of my classes are, this course was designed to be taught either face-to-face or online. So according to my personal situation, if we need to get through the first week and a half with videos, that'll be relatively easy for us to do. Okay, moving back to introduction and useful resources, we've gone through the syllabus. Opening useful resources. I do require the work you turn in to be well written. Grammarly will help you with that, so will the Writing and Learning Center, but mostly you're going to be editing each other's work. Managing due dates, since you do have a lot of work due in this class, students have told me that there's a useful Blackboard tool that a lot of people don't use. I don't have access to it, so all I can give you is an item. You click on it, and it'll give you some details about how to do it. And there's a brief bio of me if you're interested in my background. That's me with my wife and children in Innsbruck, Austria. One of, I think about 8 summers I was able to teach overseas with my family, which was the highlight of one of the highlights of all of our lives. All right, so as we get into the true work of the course, this one, the first week will be kind of set the pattern for what we're going to do. We'll have some lecture material. It'll be in here. You will open this up, read it. Be aware that I always check these, by the way, and I check them well ahead of class time, but you never know when a website's going to go down, so there's plenty of redundancy. Don't worry about it if you click on a website and there's nothing there. And again, you have a little test you can take. You click on the test when you're ready to take it. And then on Wednesday and Friday, what we'll be working on is group assignments. This is something called integrated digital marketing. Integrated means you need to be doing everything consistently. Your social media should look like your web page. When you send an email, it should look the same. When you view a site on a mobile platform, it should look like the website does on a PC. You should have consistent imagery and branding. And so your first assignment is to, I like to beat up on Sears. I won't be able to much longer because I think they're very close to liquidation. But right now there's still several hundred Sears stores open. They've been one of the worst performing companies in the world for about 20 years. Guess what? For about the same time I've been teaching internet marketing. And one of their big failures, they had 2 big failures. One was to think that people would always be willing to pay Sears more for service. Walmart taught them that. And second was just not paying attention when sales started moving online. And Amazon taught them about that. So as a group, you'll be looking at as many of Sears' internet marketing channels you can identify, and you're going to evaluate them, which means say, wow, these look good, these look great, these really suck. Mostly they'll really suck. And then talk about how they could be improved. So you kind of get an idea of what a simple assignment would be. So that'll become our pattern pretty quickly. Mondays and Wednesdays, all Mondays I'll be primarily lecturing. Wednesdays I'll lecture probably about half the time. We'll either have a group activity or we'll get started on whatever your group assignment is on Wednesday. And then Fridays will work one of 2 ways. One is you'll bring your work to class, finish it up, show it to me, and I will say sayonara, you'll be free to go. But the other is, as I said often, especially if we're doing video, or we're doing a presentation of some sort, you'll be going places like the library to be doing those things. So I hope this has been a good introduction for you. I look forward to seeing you all again. This is a class, I think only 4 or 5 people have had a previous class with me, so it's a little unusual for me. It'll be nice to see new faces, and those of you who I've seen before, I guess welcome back. And I will talk with you again. You'll be getting an email from me again within a couple of days, and you'll either be seeing me or seeing another video in a couple of days.